All right, everybody, I'm going to start up today's webinar here. What I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I think it's this is a really important article. This was from Think with Google, and I'm going to paste it to you guys again, just so you can take a look at it. This is the 2019 trends. Now, I know we're still in 2019, and really 2020 is just around the corner, but it's an incredible article in the sense that the predictions that Google made in this article are all, and I can tell you guys for a fact, they're all coming true to one degree or another. Why this matters to us is that as we go into 2020, you guys know we're rolling out the big upgrade to Rocket Driver. We're going to see the market really, I think, begin to change in pretty dramatic ways in terms of not that anything is going away. It's more like stuff is beginning to emerge and things are beginning to change. And the changes that we're seeing in all these different areas are converging into an overall sort of tsunami of technology. It's almost like we're turning into a technocratic society, right? Not that we weren't already, but with the rollout of 5G going on, marketing is completely changing from multi to omni-channel, and I can tell you that's a fact. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to go through these sort of one by one and talk a little bit about them. But what all this really means is that as we roll forward, we're going to have so much more. Our role is going to be so much more important. And one of the things I've said for a very long time, guys, is that we are in an industry that can't go away. For the same reason that plumbers and electricians and doctors can't go away. It's impossible for a company to come into our industry and to consolidate it with, and I just wrote an article recently about this, about how in most industries you have a bunch of phases you pass through, right? You have a phase you go through where, you have market, you have the pioneer phase, right? In our industry, that would have been like the 1990s where, nobody had a website, and all of a sudden we had, websites came about. They came out of nowhere. And then we went from that to sort of the small business or cottage industry phase where people set up small web agencies, but they had to do it all themselves. So they were agencies where you had people with like the pen and paper and pencil and pad putting together sites and then coding them up. And it was very crude, but it was a cottage industry. And then it became an industry. And usually what happens with that is you pass through this phase where it's an industry and, you very quickly roll right into becoming a consolidated industry where there's big players. And you saw this with many different businesses through the years, right? We saw this with you can go back through historically everything from cars to radios to television sets to just every single technocratic, product that came out. Went through the pioneers to the cottage industry to the mass consolidation, except certain things cannot be consolidated, right? You can't consolidate electricians because they have to practice their profession right there in that unique space, right? That you have to practice it right there, right up at the house or the building they're working on. Same with doctors. They have to work on that individual patient. Same thing with plumbers, your individual piping in your house. Well, it's the same thing for us. We're in a situation where, despite all, we're gaining importance, right? We're not going away. We're getting more important. The website has done nothing in the past 10, 15 years but gain in importance. The same with all these other IT services. The same with SEO. The same with social media. The same with reputation management. And the same with countless other services that are all converging and growing and gaining in importance. Now, it doesn't make our jobs really more complex, but it gives us diversity and it gives us the ability to sell so many more things. The first trend that's a prediction here that Think with Google put out was multi-channel will grow into omni-channel. Now, what's meant by that? What's meant by that is that we've been going through this phase. First, it was multimedia, right? And if you were a company, say around 2005, if you did everything you could possibly do, you had a few venues of marketing, right? You could put out like a VHS tape or something that went on television. You could create a small website. You could get print ads, right? And they would say, oh, you're multimedia, your print ads, your television, maybe your radio, and your internet, right? So there's maybe 4 different channels. Well, when we came forward into about the era of 2010 to present, we added some different channels in there, right? We added in the smartphone. We added in podcasting. Of course, we added in YouTube, internet video, but that was already kind of on the way in different ways. So that's not that surprising. We also added in, of course, the website. And the website did nothing but gain in importance during that time period because the website changed from being this sort of single task thing that sat on the web like a digital magazine that you could maybe edit through a person. It's changed now into a platform for disseminating information and working in tandem with the big change, which was social media. Because social media is a truly multi-headed hydra when it comes to, we're talking about multi-channel marketing. Because you create a blog post or you create a video, you no longer disseminate it through an email list or something like that. What you do is you push it out over social media, you push it out to your website, and you push it out all over the place via social media. It goes out to 50 different websites. It's picked up by 1,000 different bots. It's brought everywhere. Right? If you look at large organizations in particular, but small ones too, when they pump out a video nowadays, that video that they're pumping out it's being brought everywhere all at once. It's going up on their website. It's going up in the blog. It's going up on LinkedIn. It's going up on Instagram. It's going up as an image of it with a link to it on Pinterest even. Of course, it's going up on Facebook and it's going up, everywhere all at once. Well, what's happening today is that this is transforming from multi-channel to omni-channel, where when we want to produce media today or produce a message, that message is no longer a single channel. We're no longer producing 4 different messages. We're producing one message. We're creating a video and we're pushing that video out omni-channel. We're pushing out information and graphics and our overall message into this multi-headed pipeline, right? I think of it like a cascade of water down a mountain. It comes down and first it's a spring at the top, right? And then as it goes down, it turns into all these tributaries and it branches out into 1,000 different streams of information to hit 1,000 different verticals, right? Consumers are picking up data. You can look at it in yourself, not through, a single, venue somewhere, right? You're not picking stuff up from, you're not putting on NBC News to get your news. You're looking on Facebook. You're looking at what your friends are saying. You're checking Instagram. You're checking Tumblr. You're checking all these different sites, Twitter. You're picking up information from many different places. Well, marketing is doing the same thing. Marketing is moving in the same kind of a direction. And it's moving in this direction through omni-channel, which was a prediction Google made early in 2019. Now, we saw this coming really early because omni-channel has been talked about as a theory really since probably 2005, theoretically. But it has never become a real reality until today. And it's becoming a reality increasingly because of the tools and the methods of dissemination of information becoming much more centralized. So although we have tons of different channels to push out information, a lot of tools are making it much easier to centralize that creation, to have one brain behind all this different content. So that was their first prediction, and it came absolutely true, and it's going to be bigger, and you're going to hear way more about it in 2020 because it's something that as it goes forward, it's going to get more important. Google's next prediction was the importance of the mobile experience growing, and boy, did we see that happen this year. I don't know if you guys have paid as much attention maybe as you should, but if you were out there and you were reading all the data that's pro-mobile, right? All the data we find and we've been looking at for years and years and years now, really for, over 10 years now, we've been looking at the data, and the data has always been consistent that people want mobile, more mobile, less static site, less old desktop site. They're heading towards mobile phones. Well, this year, like every other year, the progression extended, right? We went further down that mobile road. Went down a road. We're heading down a road towards mobile being the everything. Now, a lot of people in tech, in hardware in particular, are predicting that within about 5 years, basically nobody's going to have a dedicated PC at their house anymore, right? They're saying that, you're looking at companies really kind of phasing them down in a sense and sort of phasing them out a little bit. But I mean, I could probably do by a show of hands, how many people here who are listening to this webinar right now are doing it on a desktop computer sitting at their desk? How many people on this webinar? If you could just literally just type in chat, tell me if you are at a desktop at your house, or are you on a smartphone or a tablet, or maybe even your HD TV. I certainly use my HD TV. I love that thing. It's fun with a wireless keyboard mouse. Works great. Yeah, tons of you guys. Yeah, you're pretty much everybody here says they're mobile. We all know this trend is going to continue. We all know it's going to, it's going to just keep going in that direction. Kyle says he's on a laptop. Okay, several people say laptop. Yeah, laptops, again, that's going in this sort of the mobile direction. A lot of the experts are saying laptops are going to get OLED screens where they are like, as thin as a toothpick, and they're going to be powered by ARM processors and Chrome OS or Android, and that we're going past the era of, the desktop computer. I don't know how true that is. I personally hope that I can get a workstation in 5 years because that's how I work. But I see the evidence there. And I see the evidence really, especially when I look at analytics of popular websites that we have, people's sites that have a lot of traffic. The traffic profiles, you can do a year after year profile. And for sites that go back like 7, 8, 9 years, if you look at them, you can literally just see the number of mobile visitors. It goes up, it's like a hockey stick. It's just boom, it takes right off, where we are just taking off and going way, way, way more mobile visitors. And it's true of media too, media consumption. Something like 50% of the whole internet, and this has been true for about 4 years now, at any given time, it's people streaming video from YouTube. YouTube is such a big part of the whole internet now. And that statistic is veering, of course, totally towards mobile. People are consuming so much of their media. I don't know how good it is for their eyes, but they're streaming tons and tons and tons of content from YouTube and watching it there. That's getting to be a bigger part of it. This is going to continue. Now, something else that they mention here is, in addition to the importance of speed, providing revolutionary solutions to improving experiences on the mobile web, and as you guys know, our CDN-based platform, we have the speed. Okay, mobile web is going to be a challenge the next year. It says, think with Google, Turkey editor, Zeynep Gun. At this point, Progressive Web Apps offers a solution by employing modern technology to deliver native app-like experiences on the web. In 2019, brands empowering their users with investments in mobile platforms are going to win. And they did. And they are. PWA was something that when we introduced it, I'll be honest with you guys, when we first introduced PWA, I thought to myself, I'm not a big believer in web apps. I'm not, generally, okay? Because I know the statistics. When you look at the stats, 90% plus, this is Apple's own statistics, say that like 90% plus of the apps in their store haven't even been downloaded one time. That means most people paying to have apps made or getting apps made that are never downloaded. So I said, well, what good is a PWA going to be? But I didn't get it at first. I didn't get it. The point of the PWA is not to replace it, is not to give people an app. It's to replace the website for very frequented websites. When you have a business, and for example, let's say that one of the features of your site is a form. You put a form on your site, everyone at your business has a smartphone. You can tell them, input the data from customers into the form. Then you can just go back and collect all the form entries. It makes perfect sense. It's using the website as a piece of software. PWA means that site that you're using like a piece of software is going to load like 1 million times faster than using a web app, right? Or using an application or using the website native itself. It's a much faster version of the site. So when you put forms on the site, when you put anything on that site that's going to be frequently accessed by a user, that user can download and install a PWA, drop it on their desktop. They don't even have to install it, actually. They just kind of grab it and drop it on their desktop, and they're good to go, right? So it has this huge, huge upside to that. Google predicted that. When I read this, and I read this months ago, I was like, come on, PWA. I knew we were offering them, but I didn't think they would sell as well as they did. But more importantly than selling as well as they did, they were used a lot, a hell of a lot. People use the PWA. They use them at rates drastically higher. I mean, orders of magnitude higher than they do conventional pieces of mobile application software, right? Because that stuff never gets used. There are literally, I think the coastal areas of Silicon Valley, of out in California, are dotted with the bankrupt authors of mobile applications who dreamed of fame and fortune and got nothing, because there's 90% plus never even get downloaded once, because desktop, homepage space is such a premium. Online video to take over from TV. And this is something that I could not personally be more happy with. I think it's absolutely great that we're witnessing the web takeover and conventional old line media, television, go away. It's a cable bill, passive, sitting there watching what you're told to watch. People are rejecting it. Netflix is taking off. Hulu's taking off. Crackle's taking off. Tons and tons of free sites are taking off, like Popcorn Time and others. Just huge numbers of various online streaming sites. And of course, YouTube, but tons of online streaming sites, free and pay, are all taking off. If you look at this here, in 2019, users will spend more time online for the first time than in front of TV screens. So it was a pivotal year for this. Much of this time they will spend watching online video. By 2020, the average viewing time in the world will reach 84 minutes. That is gigantic when you consider that's a global statistic, 84 minutes. And I'm sure they're talking about per day, because people do not watch, that in a week, right? It's huge. Now, and if the television advertising market begins to stagnate, then the global budget for the production of online video advertising will grow by 17% annually. And we definitely saw that. We're seeing a shift. Now, I know there's some controversy about this shift, but we're seeing a shift of conventional media moving online, right, on YouTube. If YouTube is, depending on your perspective, either plagued by it or filled with it. You can pick your poison there, but the point is it's filled with it. Conventional media. There was a major shift in that direction in 2019, all over the place. And some would say a shift away from the independent producers of content, but they're not going anywhere either. And we're starting to see new platforms begin to emerge and begin to get introduced into the marketplace in a real big way. We're starting to see, other platforms. In the future, I don't know 2020 and beyond what's going to happen, but I definitely say that there's room in the marketplace and growing for different platforms, content hosting platforms to grow. Because as we see the shrinkage and eventual collapse of the old media of the television set and, the paid monthly fee to watch, commercials all day, it's kind of like it's going to self-implode. And that's what the predictions have been, that, as advertising revenue shrinks, they have to put more ads on. As more ads, as people's pay, the amount of subscribers shrinks, you have to fill more time with ads, then you can afford less for content. Just today, I think it was Netflix announced they're going to spend, I think it was in the hundreds of billions, if not, or hundreds of millions, if not over $1 billion in new production of shows. So you're seeing them just take off and go stratospheric, commercial-free programming. Couldn't be happier myself, and I think that our industry is going to really benefit from this too, because we're seeing more and more small businesses develop, content for local consumption. Right? It's no longer, it's an impossibility for me to produce a commercial. I have to do it this way. It has to be perfect. No, if you want a commercial nowadays, if you want to just reach an audience, it's not that difficult. You could just go produce a video of your business, talk to your consumer, your audience, your client, whoever it is, and you can put it out there. You can put it on your website. You can put it on review sites. You can get your message across, and you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. It's really great for small to medium-sized businesses, which in turn is great for us, because as they allocate more money and more of a budget to the web locally, we get to, we feed from that, right? That's where we feed from, is the small to medium-sized businesses that are investing their budgets into local production, local content for local consumption. Now, voice services will boom. Well, voice services did boom. Of course, they boomed, and I think what they're doing, they're counting things like, Alexa and Siri in this mix. But I know for a fact that we saw services like Skype grow, and we saw services like, and it says it right here, M&H Home has already launched an application that works in conjunction with Google Assistant. It gives advice on the design of rooms in different styles and helps define suitable products in the company's catalog. In the Domino's Pizza app, Google's voice assistant remembers the user's last choice and can repeat it itself. This helps speed up the order. We're starting to see third-party businesses build upon Siri, build upon Alexa, build upon voice services, and what underscores all of this is AI and automation. And going ahead, industries and businesses and jobs, frankly, that people didn't think could be automated can be automated. If you listen to some of the newer IVR systems, auto attendant systems that they're becoming better and better and better. And although they frustrate us right now, and it's hard for us to look backwards, they frustrated us a lot more 5 or 10 years ago. I can tell you that for a fact. They were incredibly frustrating 5 or 10 years ago. You can remember where it was literally punch the button and scream and punch it and scream. And, I'll be honest with you, I have a couple phones that they didn't survive those years, okay, based upon that, because it used to drive me crazy. As we go forward, a lot of these systems are going to get more refined and easier to work with. And Alexa and Siri are certainly two examples. There may be competitors to Alexa and Siri, because as the processing power that underscores AI becomes cheaper and cheaper and more widely disseminated, you're going to see the ability to field solutions like that become more widespread. And we may end up with a marketplace that's literally infested with AI bots that are on par in terms of quality and capability with these major bots from these centralized companies right now. Partnership, a catalyst for growth in retail. When retail changes at the pace of technology and digitalization, it is essential to innovate and look for the next business opportunity. One way to do it is through partnerships. According to OC&C strategy consultants, retailers' biggest challenge comes from rapid expansion of retail platforms. Amazon, Alibaba, eBay, JD.com, and Zalando now capture most of the growth and elevate customers' perceptions of what good looks like. Well, I don't know about the last part. I don't really get my impression of what good looks like from eBay, but I can see what they're saying here is that you're seeing a lot more partnerships. And, I think by partnership, what they mean is that you're starting to see a lot of conventional, traditional retailers and product producers, producers of different things, move on to these platforms out of really, frankly, necessity to survive. A lot of brands simply don't have the distribution channels they had 20 years ago. If you look up lots of different products that, are common in our culture that we know about, Estwing hammers, for example, or Stanley tools, or Husqvarna, the distribution channels, the small hardware stores that used to dot the landscape, and the smaller general purpose stores, the Sears outlets, the Kmarts, they're not there anymore. So if a company like Husqvarna wants to sell chainsaws, they have to go on Amazon to do it. Same with Estwing hammers, same with, Snow and Neely axes. Lots of companies have got to go onto these platforms and leverage. It's a leverage the new retail or die. Is this something that's going to grow? Of course it is, but it is not necessarily by choice. I would pitch a very solid argument that it's not a partnership born of love, but of necessity. And to call it a partnership is a little weird, maybe. Anyway, you guys make up your own minds there. Breakthrough chatbots. Yeah, we had a lot of chatbots this year. Did you guys notice lots of companies? My bank launched one. Lots of businesses launched chatbots, right? They had AI in them. And, we're seeing this happen, and we've watched it since. I've watched this. I've watched bots grow since about the year 2002, right? It was when I first became involved with bots, because I had a partner actually at the time who was a programmer. And, you know, as a business partner, this guy was an incredible programmer. He was the programming side, and I was sort of the marketing side of a small business. And what he did was he programmed bots back then to enter chat rooms and enter certain online communities, and they would, you know, they would pitch a product. This is before it became annoying and horrible and overcrowded. This was like very innovative at the time. You know, you would have an online community, let's say about radios or something. The chatbot could enter the radio community and say, hey, buy this radio. We have it on sale over here for a very low price. That kind of a thing. So I became involved in it way, way back then. It was amazing at the time. But anyway, as time has passed on, these bots have become just incredible. They have databases that are like terabytes in size of responses programmed into them now. And, you know, they're doing natural language processing. They can actually listen to your voice, and they can detect through the intonation of your voice what your emotions are. You have bots now where the one that you chat with on your keyboard can identify you when you call into the business and pull up records and look at what you were saying last time online. And it's incredible. They can build a profile on you. Really incredible. Certainly something that's going to be, you know, growing going forward. The next one here, though, is one that I think really, really, really backs up what I've said for a long time about website personalization. Personalization through data-driven marketing, growing. And I'm just going to read this to you guys because this is important for us to really kind of hone in on. There is competitive advantage in integrating data-driven marketing strategies. In 2019, we will provide actionable structure to this principle by sharing what we call the 5 A's model of data-driven marketing. Audience, assets, access, attribution, and automation, says Mate Gomez Frail, Google Spain industry head. By mastering these 5 principles, brands will equip themselves through digital transformation by offering complete experiences to their clients. Marketing has always been about putting the consumer at the center of everything we do. With consumers becoming hyper-connected, hyper-demanding, and hyper-impatient, setting them at the core of marketing strategies will increasingly mean offering personalized experiences. This is so relevant to us. Now we have the technology and data volumes to start making this vision a reality, or that vision a reality. This is really, really, really front and center. When you guys are out there in the field and you're pitching, you got to understand a couple things. Statistics have been done on this. It is not that businesses are failing to keep up. It's that the internet, the whole internet effect of I move a mouse, I click, I get feedback. This whole feedback loop that we live with everything today is making us way more impatient. Consumers are totally impatient. There was a story recently about a business in New York. They had all these complaints that service was slow from consumers, right, from their customers. So this business happened to have footage going back to like 1998. And so the CEO of the company went to the footage, and it showed how long did it take for food to arrive, an hors d'oeuvre to arrive. How long did it take for people to be seated? It showed all these barometers, right? Or key performance indicators, right? All these KPIs. It showed all of this for this business. And he looked at it. Service was actually faster by almost 20% in 2000, and I believe it was 2018 this was done. It was 20% faster than 1998. Yet complaints were through the roof. And back then there were no complaints at all. In fact, service was considered fast. So society at large is changing. You're seeing people get very hyper demanding. And of course, the hyper demanding comes from everybody's leaving reviews. Everybody puts themselves at the center of everything. You know, egocentrism is now a virtue in our society. Nobody is looking at things in terms of, how do I fit into an integrated whole? It's all, I am the whole. You better help me or service me, or else I'm going to get you online. A lot of people think that way. So with that in mind, what you're looking at here is a situation where we have a perfect tool for that with website personalization. With website personalization, we're going to be able to much more easily service this marketplace. Because when you guys are pitching a site, you're no longer just pitching a dead website. You're pitching something that can react or respond. And you have to bring up things like this. You have to talk to clients about it. Explain to them, look, the site you have now might look great, but the site you have now is a dead website. It's like a brick. It doesn't do anything. It might be a pretty brick, but it doesn't do anything. The site we're going to give you is going to respond. It's going to react, and it's going to change and reconfigure itself based on holidays, based on special days for the business, based on the geographic location of clients or your prospects, based on how many times someone visits. If it's their first time, their fifth time, it's going to behave differently based on where they're from. If they're from, 10 states away or right up close. This is important. It's very important that you guys understand that you have that capability right at your fingertips. When you're pitching sites to people, it's critical. It's such a crucial component of what makes our technology shine, right? And as we go forward, it's going to become something people demand as they understand it. Right now, the marketplace doesn't even understand these capabilities exist. And what people don't know exists, they can't want. They don't know that they want something that doesn't exist in their mind. So you have to really show them. You have to really make it a point to bring these things out and show these things to people. The next thing is consolidation of offline and online content. We're starting to see this in a big way where, content that used to exist in its own vertical, everything crisscrosses now. Everything, stands on top of each other. Content like images, of course, get shared everywhere. Video gets shared everywhere. Written content goes out in an omni-channel way. And really, this is a component of omni-channel. This is a component of, advertising blending into marketing, blending into user experience. Everything is sort of all blending together. And you can see here, this was done in 2018 by Landmark Group, one of the largest omni-channel retailers in the UAE and KSA, who integrated their Shukran loyalty card sales data into Google Analytics to connect online advertising and offline sales. This is important because, what's going on a lot of the time is people tend to look at their advertising as being in channel, right? Like content from here is going to be, related to sales from there. But everything now it blends into each other, especially when you're talking about local marketing. When you're talking about local marketing in particular, and you're talking about selling to people in your town, you run an advertising campaign, right? Let's say that an advertising campaign is going on the website, but it's designed to drive people into the store. If you don't have analytics to somehow track how many people are showing up in the store from online, how can you know if things worked or not? You can't. So increasingly, you have to really look at every avenue where things are coming from and what they're doing in order to get the picture of the whole. And that's basically what they're talking about. Augmented reality will be used more widely. Well, certainly those of you who have kids that are teenagers, let's say, that video gaming has become just crazy, right? That's where it's sort of, when people think augmented reality, a lot of them still think of video games, right? They think of kids in games. They think of these overlaid wireframes. And that's true. But as we go forward, and I don't think 2019 was the year of augmented reality, but augmented reality has made some huge leaps. Virtual reality has made some huge leaps in video gaming space, I should say. Augmented reality has made some tremendous leaps as well. It's funny, but Google Glass is now like old, right? I mean, who the hell uses that anymore, right? It's old. I mean, I have shoes that are, newer than that. It's not hip, not cool anymore. But AR has made some leaps. And I think as we walk forward, we're going to see some of these breakthroughs in OLED technology and in display technology, in particular in the refresh rate of displays. Because one of the keys, and I'll tell you guys something that I've learned, and John Carmack, the head of id Software, talked about this probably 5 years ago now, and it's been a persistent problem that you have to get the refresh rate way up for augmented reality, even more than virtual reality, because what will happen is if somebody's wearing one of these displays and they're looking out and they're looking through a pair of glasses that overlays digital content onto the real world, and it's blinking really fast, well, number one, it can trigger epileptic seizures in some people, but it can also make a lot of people very sick. They get nauseous, they get seasick, and it really mimics, a variety of different symptoms, but ultimately it makes people sick. What's been going on has been the GPU makers, NVIDIA and ATI, have been working very hard to increase the bandwidth that allows for a much faster display rate, refresh rate of displays. And as this has increased, and we're getting almost there, it's making augmented reality ready for prime time, because the average person who buys a pair of augmented reality glasses or an attachment of some kind is not going to use it if it makes them sick. And we can all imagine what's going to happen when people start wearing these things and they're driving cars. So, we're not distracted enough already. 2019 may not have been the year of that. That'll be for you to judge. But 2020, they're saying it's going to exceed 60 billion, at least in investment. And it's going to definitely start growing in big ways. The value of custom content. And that's our last point here. But it's a big one. I could tell you guys from my own experience, and I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been working on content creation my entire career. I have never seen custom content become as important as it is now. And it's become more important, really proportional to how smart the bots are getting with regards to search, with how particular consumers are getting in terms of what content they want to consume and they're willing to consume, and the atmosphere of mistrust that we live in today, and the environment of very specific pursuits, personal pursuits, and so on, is leading to content verticalization, where if you're a person who writes about a specific type of bonsai tree that grows only in a specific place, for example, something very, 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 a niche upon a niche, your content is now worth so much more, because the odds of consumers that are connected into the system willing to pay for that content in one way or another is so much higher now than it was 5 or 10 years ago. If you went back in time 10 years, let's say that you were an expert at some very vertical, specific niche, the customers just weren't there, right? Because it was too low. In a world of 6 billion people, if we have the customers connected online, if 1/10 of 1% are interested, that 1/10 of 1% now comprises millions of people. And so your very niche expertise now is valuable. We're also seeing this in search. Search engines are becoming way more content conscious. I know that I've been saying this, it's been my mantra for a long time, that content is king. But we're seeing content become more and more and more important. And not just written content, but video, graphics, infographics, everything. All forms of content have increased exponentially in value in 2019 and are going to continue to increase into 2020 and beyond. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up tonight's webinar. It was great speaking with all of you. Have a great weekend. Get out there, pitch some deals, and we'll be talking about a whole lot of new stuff here in the near future.